Hey, so how's everyone doing? Great. I'm here to talk to you about building great conversational experiences. I'll tell you a little bit about some of my background, and I'll touch on some of what Maggie already said. But I've been at Google for about 4 years, and I've worked on a broad range of products there. I've worked on Google Express, which is in the US, our same-day delivery service. So I've worked with retail partners to onboard into this space, and also kind of the interesting challenge of predicting inventory availability when you've got flaky data. I've consulted across a broad range of products at Google and worked with those teams to apply machine learning approaches and techniques to solve their business problems. And for the past year, I've been working with API.ai. So as Maggie said, I've been working on scaling and our partner success team. That means kind of being out there with our key partners and building great conversational experiences. On a personal note, I just want to share, outside of work, outside of technology, I really like to meditate. I've been practicing mindfulness meditation for about 4 years. I don't know, I use the Headspace app, which I really like, and I borrowed for this slide. So this conference is fantastic. It's all of us getting together, sharing our experiences, our questions, our ideas, and really learning from one another. I'd like to start with sharing a story. This is one that I love to tell. Because we can all kind of fall into this mindset, into this trap. It's also an important reminder for myself. So there's an American author by the name of David Foster Wallace, and he has a famous kind of commencement speech that he's given and story, and it opens with the following. It says, "There are 2 young fish swimming in the water, and they happen to meet an older fish as they're swimming by. The older fish goes to them and says, 'Hey, how's it going? How's the water, boys?' And goes on. The 2 young fish swim on for a bit, and one stops and looks at the other and says, 'What the hell is water?'" Right? So he goes on to talk about how this topic describes kind of knowing what the water is and living a conscious and aware life, and not to accept kind of the default mode. I share this metaphor because I believe it's also a good handle and a good lens to look at the space of conversational experiences. It's something that we think about a lot. At API and at Google, we spend a lot of time working and looking at seeing the water, seeing the invisible, seeing the underlying mechanics of what's going on. And I'd like to share some of the trends we're seeing, talk about some of the areas we're excited for conversational experiences to really excel in, and then talk about some tips and resources for building great ones. So to start with, what is a conversational experience? We define it as any voice or text-based experience that uses NLU to communicate, so that's natural language understanding, to communicate with their users. So these can be spoken or they can be text-based. For an example, let's say I think in the US, you talk to Domino's Pizza for delivery through Facebook Messenger. You're engaging in a conversational experience with Dom in that case. Dom is their pizza ordering expert. So in just a few years, the general awareness of and adoption of conversational experiences by businesses, large and small, and by people, everyday people in their usage, people in their everyday usage has really been expanding. So we all know conversational experience is important. That's why we're here at this conference. So let's take a look at how this space is expected to grow over the next few years. So, here are some trends in the industry that we're seeing. If we focus on just the next 3 years, by 2019, 33% or a third of US users will be using voice assistants by 2019. By 2020, over 85% of customers customer interactions will be managed without a human, according to Gartner. And by 2021, the overwhelming majority of marketers feel that that virtual assistants and chatbots will play a significant role in marketing. So what's causing the growing trends for these conversational experiences? There are two forces and factors at play. So one, there's an influx of more and more smart devices. Kind of all of the announcements that have been going on over the last weeks, and we have ours in a couple days. But we're having this growth of all of these smart devices, ubiquitous computing that's everywhere. There's also a shift in behavior and how people are interacting and spending their time. People are spending more and more time online in social channels, and brands are now interacting with customers outside of just their own web page or their own traditional channels. They're investing heavily in personalized two-way experiences, and they're engaging in conversations with people on these social media platforms, messaging apps, and use smart devices. So with this change, there's also a change in expectations. It's increasingly expected that companies be reachable anywhere, that they're always available, that they know me and personally are catered to me, and respond instantly. So we believe that there's a great opportunity for well-crafted conversational experiences to deliver on these expectations and really create a delightful and magical experience. So next, I want to look at some areas that we think that conversational experiences can do really well in. So here are some key areas that we've looked at and identified. These can be implemented for businesses large and small across any vertical. We believe these are great opportunities for conversational experiences to be successful in. And let's look at each of them one by one and flesh them out a bit. So the first one is customer support. Building conversational interfaces that perform tasks like scheduling appointments, answering common questions, and helping customers with simple requests can be automated and can lead to a better customer experience as well. Instead of waiting on the phone or in a queue to get your answer, you can get it instantly. You can get it right away. If you're one of the 20% that can't be answered, or you want to speak to someone, there's a great opportunity here to transfer to a live person or whatever normal channels that you might already have in place, and that person's already warm and understands the context and problem. So the resolution experience is that much faster and that much more personal. So with customer service being handled by these conversational apps, it can save costs. You can devote your time, effort, people resources to other activities. Maybe instead you're solving the really hard 20% of problems and doing it really well and differentiating on customer support. Some best practices in this space that can get you started are to look at what your customers are saying today. Listen and analyze. So look at the FAQs that you have and see the traffic to them. Look at any customer interactions you already have. You could look at the Google Analytics for your support pages, for instance. These will let you find the top issues that you're receiving already and let you focus on them. You're probably already doing this as you're managing your support and your customers, but it's really valuable to figure out the top ones. So use this to prioritize the areas you can focus on. See the ones that can be automated, are most popular and the highest priority. And then categorizing and grouping them allows you to kind of really map these to the intent space. So intents in the NLU platform are ways you kind of tag and collate things that people are saying. So it lets you build almost this ontology of top cases and top things people are saying. So for example, like refunds could be a set, or status of an order, maybe login issues or errors people are seeing. So it helps you organize this. I think I'm personally excited about things like like knowledge engine and like ontologies that are coming up, expert systems that are going to be able to build and generate more of these. At API.ai, we're taking our own advice. We're following these same practices, and we're building our own conversational experience to answer common questions from our partners, developers, and we're using our tools and the same techniques here to do that. The next case, the next really exciting area that we think conversational experiences are going to do well is in transactions. So transactions or commerce are, I mean, it's really any time you're making, kind of buying a goods or service from a company or person. And it could be making a purchase, booking appointments, reservations, scheduling rides, etc. So why do we think this is important? By being able to be where your customers are and make a really frictionless, easy transaction, you're going to increase your funnel. You're going to increase the amount of sales that you have and thereby increase your revenues. An example we're seeing that this is doing well is in the food ordering space. Food ordering is kind of huge in the Bay Area and the US, where I'm from, and I know it's on the rise in Europe as well. But the current experience for a lot of cases is a lot of taps. How many taps do you have to do on mobile or web to go in? You have to go to the app, enter in your choices, customizations, type your address maybe if you've not authed, your payment information, and then you're done after all that. When this can really be a seamless and simple conversational experience that you can develop. So some of the best practices in this space are that conversational experiences should be simple. Understand the job that needs to be done. Understand and strip away kind of all the fluff and everything that's not needed. Ordering a sandwich you can do in a single utterance and 3 clicks, and you're done. It should be smart. So over time, learn your users. They're literally speaking to you in this environment. So listen to them and be smart. Have memory. Remember your usual orders. Remember my preferences. So if I have a dislike for something, or if I have maybe an allergy that I've expressed, don't offer that to me in my conversation. And then the last one's secure. So these are kind of table stakes. I mean, to be able to use payment flows that leverage identity, fingerprint auth, to ensure that the user trusts you and is going to hand over their payment information or allow you to access it. So an example we showcased in Google I/O this past summer, and I don't know if GIFs are showing in this format. Maybe no GIFs. All right, well, imagine Panera Bread. So Panera Bread built a conversational experience where you could click up in an utterance, bring it up through the Google Assistant, and apologies, for the lack of visual. In an utterance, get the salad or sandwich. And Panera Bread, they're a US-based, one of the fastest growing US-based healthy food chains. And I know recently acquired, or fairly recently acquired. And so you can do this utterance, do it in a couple clicks. And so this is a space where real products are coming out. And I'll mention our transactions on Assistant is currently in developer preview and is available there. The third space, other than customer support and transactions, these are the 2 important areas where you can reduce costs and increase your revenues, respectively. There's also a great opportunity to interact with your users in fun ways and make their days more productive. Offer useful and helpful services to your customers. These kinds of services can drive engagement and provide benefits for your brand awareness. So this looks different depending on the vertical, depending on the company. And we've seen conversational experiences where people build apps that start their cars, control their homes, and there's a whole list of being able to play music, videos, and getting directions, learning new things, suggesting a workout or healthy recipe that you can provide to your users. and customers. So it's important in this space to know what job people want to have done, and that it makes sense in a conversational experience. How do you do that? How do you ensure that? Well, the short answer is you design and test. I want to talk about how you do good design for these for a little bit. So these areas, for all these areas and for all conversational experiences, design is critically important. So a couple things to keep in mind is the persona or the personality of the experience and of the conversational and the dialogue design. So your support bot personality might be knowledgeable, friendly, and upbeat. You might want to make it a little bit quirky, depending on your brand and the tone and voice that you offer it. But for a food ordering bot, I mean, you probably wouldn't have something that's really laid back and casual and sort of like slack offish. You know, if I'm hungry, I want to talk to a conversational experience that makes me feel confident that my food is on its way, that my order has been received. So you wouldn't like sort of be that California surfer tone, like, oh, you know, I'll get to it eventually, or make jokes when I really want to make an order. So the dialogue design is writing out sample dialogues and handling error cases like no input or no match. Dialogue craft for conversational experiences can be challenging. It takes work. It's also really important. It's where we spend a lot of time thinking about and working with our design team to really help see the water in this case. I want to stress this, but I'm not going to go in depth into the topics. There have been some great talks today about UX design, but I do want to share some great resources that we've made available. So at g.co Dev Action Design, we have a wealth of resources for building conversational experiences, the design principles, walkthrough examples, checklists, and best practices. These are applicable voice or text and really across any platform. These principles are transferable if you're building on really any integration platform. So I strongly encourage you to check out the Google Actions design page. So finally, what platform should you build and scale your conversational experience using? For us at Google, it's API.ai. That's the product that I work on. And I'm excited to share some stats, great features that we use to build these conversational experiences for our partners. So what's API.ai? It's and some stats about where we are. It's used by more than 300,000 developers from over 150 countries, and it's currently supports more than 14 languages with its ML models and growing. Personally, you know, I work with it and love taking it from kind of sketch design idea to prototype and then refining that, quickly testing and iterating, and then bringing a product to production using the platform. So talk a little bit about some of the key features that we have. So there's no steep learning curve, no programming required to build a conversational experience using API.ai. You provide natural examples of what users might say, and we have a ready and available machine learning model that understands concepts, understands language, and lets you be able to prototype, test, and launch in just a couple hours or days for your conversational experience. We have, we have a really great and advanced machine learning model, leveraging the years of experience that API.ai has in building and crafting the model, and also Google's machine learning resources for really accurate, intelligent machine learning systems. So with that, we are able to recognize with high accuracy what your users are saying and delivering the most efficient responses. So once you've kind of built and designed your great conversational experience, you want to reach your users. You want to get to where they are. So our model is you can build once and deploy anywhere. We have integrations not only with Google Assistant, but with Facebook Messenger, with Twitter, with Slack, with over a dozen other platforms that are configuration only. You don't have to do any of the coding. We also have REST-based platforms and SDKs for platforms that or customizations that you might want to do. I mean, I in my day-to-day build these conversational experiences. So I'll use the platform, quickly test, roll it out. I'll use our APIs that we have to tune and iterate, and really love the power and flexibility of the platform. It's in 14 languages and again growing, and so this really lets you speak the language that your customers are in. So it's really quick and easy to get started. You go to api.ai to start up, and the service is free. If you'd like to talk more, I'm here and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michael. That's fantastic. I have one question, though, about natural language and Google Assistant. How much is the natural language research that's been going? What's happened since last year? We kind of also have a lot of people that are coming here again from last year. Is there an update? Is there something that we can say about developments there?
Gosh, our 10.4 event is obviously not on 10.3.
Yes,
so I'm under embargo, so I'm not going to talk about some of the things that we're doing. But since coming to Google, we've moved into the Google stack and integrated much more closely. So we're on Google Cloud Platform now as our infrastructure, and integrating pretty closely with a lot of core Google technologies. So yeah, being a bit vague here and purposely.
Okay, I understand. Maybe somebody else can get a better question that he doesn't have to answer so vaguely. Anybody got questions out there? I'm sure you're curious. Oh, I see one question there, yes? We can get a microphone out there, actually. Fantastic. Way in the back there on the left. Yes, I understand tomorrow is another day. So, yeah. Yes, please, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Andreas von Andevo. We are also building on the API platform. I was wondering about service level agreements and your roadmap to having a production platform.
Yeah, so around service level agreements, there are definitely plans in the works for this space. We recognize that some companies would want certain service level agreements and certain levels of support, and sometimes there's certain issues where with how you want to host. So there is work in this space. So right now we have our free available model, so you can use api.ai and have unlimited queries and interactions. But stay tuned in this space for the enterprise level version that's coming out.
Are there any ideas what kind of time frame we are talking about?
Tricky with time frames because I can give you a time frame and then I want to delight you, but I definitely don't want to disappoint you. So, with software, with launches, it's so many moving parts that, but it's definitely in the works.
Got it. Thanks a lot.
Yes, the gentleman in the black, yes.
Hello, Nicola from Socrates. We're talking about intent detection based on machine learning, even when there are just a few of examples. Is it really based on machine learning or it's rule-based, and where's the border limits between rules-based and machine learning used for intent detection?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, right. So typically, you often need a lot of training data, right, to kind of get things right. I'd say we use a combination of approaches. Statistical machine learning, NLU models, and rules-based grammars to be able to really have high accuracy and understand, when someone says something, what are they actually saying? How can you understand that if I've only kind of like if I'm asking for the weather, like what's the weather like? What's the weather going to be here in the city? There's a dozen ways you could say that. Ashley might tell you more in the next talk about how they're hearing that. But yeah, how do you get that with just a couple examples? And we use a hybrid approach to just kind of the short answer, but I'm happy to talk more if you want to chat after the presentation.
Yes. Do we have the, sorry.
Hello, Thomas from Keeper. If I want my bot to support several languages, because I think it's important to talk to the customer in his native language, do I have to train all the different languages separately, or is there any kind of translation layer in front of it?
Yeah, I mean, you do have to provide examples in the native language. So if you have an English bot, English interface, and a German interface, there's different language structure and different ways you would express an idea in each. So you do need to provide training examples in both languages. There are machine learning technologies that are available. Google has a translation service, and there are others as well. Those are good. I'd say they're not perfect, right? I mean, like the nature of conversation and dialogue can be nuanced. So you could do a layer there, and then you'd want to kind of look at it and have human evaluation to make sure that these are accurate and appropriate for the language.
Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta say, just in answer to that as well, I was just in Japan, and using Google Translate for Japanese words is ridiculous because everything's in metaphors. So like, you have these really literal translations of Japanese expressions that make no sense in German. The water flows beneath, all these kind of wonderful things where I can just imagine a bot getting very confusing after that. So, sorry, yes, in the back with the shirt, yes.
So I'm a UX designer, and I love, in mobile, I also went for the dream, deploy once or develop once and deploy everywhere. I'm really curious what templates, tips, resources you might have for design once. Very different Google Assistant to a chatbot in Messenger. Design once and deploy everywhere. How do you approach that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, you need to think about the job that needs to be done, and so like what area are you going to focus on, and what does the person want to do, and then how are they doing it? Like, right? Am I talking to a speaker, like Home or Alexa? Am I on my phone? Am I in transit while I'm on my phone? How am I doing this action? So how do you design for these different modalities, voice, text, mixed, and then how do you design for kind of where the person is? So it's a hard problem. You need to think about that. You need to see and understand, see the water, understand the language and the use. The resources that I shared, I think are on the actions design page would be a great starting place. There are a wealth of other resources on the web as well, but definitely, that talk about conversational principles, how you can design for voice, for text, and for these barriers.
One more question. Blue shirt, yes?
Hello, I'm Emanuele from Heroes. So first of all, I have to thank you for giving API.ai to the world, because I think it's a really good tool for bootstrapping. But the question is, the name is API, and I would expect to have a very full-fledged API from the service, but actually it's a couple of endpoints, and that's it. So the question is, right now you can query your systems that you have trained on the web interface, but there's no way to update your models directly to the API. So that would support online training, or like human in the loop, also to tag, for example, examples that come directly from an online situation. Mm-hmm. So is there any plan to expand the API of API.ai?
Yeah, thanks. Yes, there are definitely plans to expand the API, make it more robust. You can do some of that today. You can kind of train and you can update your intents via REST endpoint. You can You can update things like your entities. You can do some of that, but yeah, definitely plans to do that. And I'm happy to also talk afterwards about the specific cases or things you're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Michael said it a couple times. You guys feel free to approach him. He's going to be hanging out for the rest of the day. So, yeah, thanks so much, Michael.
Thank you.
Everybody, big hand of applause. Thank you.